Hello, welcome back to my haunted library. It's Regina. I hope you're doing well. I'm doing better. I'm still recovering from my accident, but able to use my arm a lot more now and starting to feel back to normal. I'm about halfway through this whole ordeal, I hope. So I've been reading a lot and also writing a lot. If you haven't picked up my newest release, Final Dress, please do. It's out in ebook and print and also Kindle Unlimited if you have that. And it's starting to get some good reviews, so I'm happy. Some reviews are trickling in, and I'm glad that people are enjoying it. It definitely is like a slow burn story. It takes a while for the horror to kick in, but that's kind of how I like to structure my stories, because I spend a lot of the initial stages of the story developing characters and relationships, so that when the proverbial you-know-what hits the fan, you care about the characters, hopefully. So definitely check it out. I will be doing a giveaway soon as my author copies arrive from Amazon. They do take quite a while to get here. So today I'm back with some V.C. Andrews. It's been a while since I've done just an exclusive V.C. Andrews video, so I will add this to my playlist. But I'm really happy to get back into the swing of things with this series. So last time I read the two series that were the short books and then the one novel that kind of grouped them all together. That was Orphans and Wildflowers. Now, and there's one after this, Shooting Stars, I think it's called. I did enjoy those books. They were definitely felt like more middle grade to me, but I still enjoyed them a lot. They were fun, light, nothing too dramatic, and kind of forgettable. So I'm happy to get back into more of the traditional structure, at least so far it is. So we have the first book in the series, Rain, and this is the Hudson series. So in Rain, we have our first woman of color protagonist. I think they did a really nice job depicting her in these covers. It's definitely how I picture her. All these characters in this picture are represented in the book, I'm happy to report. None of these are written by V.C. Andrews, who died after just the first couple of series that she wrote, and those are the best. But Andrew Niederman does a good job with these, I think. However, this is not like an own voices type of story. So we're getting into some obvious cliches, like all of these series have. So we have Rain living in the ghetto of Washington, D.C., kind of the way Heaven started out in the coal mines or something. It's a similar like rags to riches story. So her family is the Arnold family. So she's named Rain Arnold. Her mama, who's an amazing, sweet, hardworking woman who is feeling the stress of everything going on. Oh, and I also wanted to say, I will have spoilers. I will be discussing both books, and I may get some things wrong, and I'm sure someone will let me know in the comments when I do. Anyway, so Rain is living with the Arnold family, and she has no idea that she is, hint, hint, adopted. So we do have like the Cinderella story where the girl is plucked out of a wealthy family and put into this poor family, and the struggles that go on there. But then once she goes into the wealthy world, she's not accepted there either. So that's kind of the dynamic of what's happening in like the overall story and the overall series so far. I've only read the first two books, and I'll be reading the second two books and reporting back. So we get into some heavy drama, heavy melodrama in the Washington, D.C. part of the story. So we have Rain, who's about 16, I think, or 15 at the time when the book starts, and she's a high school student, and her younger sister, Benny, who is a Fanny character, meaning that she is that bad sister who's out with the boys and getting into trouble. Mom is trying to hold everyone together. There's older brother, Roy, and then there is the father, Ken, I believe, who is a bum and a ne'er-do-well and someone who drinks away all the money that the mother makes working as a checkout girl at the supermarket. So it's a bad situation. Roy can't wait to get out of the house. He's going to join the army, as you would have it in a V.C. Andrews book. And this is the part, and I'm not moralizing, I just feel like it doesn't fit all the time. It definitely fits with Flowers in the Attic and some of the other stories. But to me, this whole brother-sister thing sometimes really feels forced and kind of gross. I mentioned that in my last video. So Roy is secretly in love or in lust with his sister Rain, even before he finds out that she's not really his sister. So they're not related at all. Rain is a light-skinned black girl, and because of that, she gets harassed at school. She doesn't quite fit in with the black kids, but she doesn't fit in with the white kids. Of course, there are no white kids in her neighborhood. So, but this is her family and this is her people. So she is confused and upset by how she's being treated. Benny, the sister, gets into some big trouble. She starts hanging out with some local drug dealers. Now, like I said, a lot of cliches. And she goes to a party, gets really wasted. They gave her something to drink. And next thing she knows, she was sexually assaulted while she was unconscious. And not only that, they took photographs. And now they're trying to blackmail her with these photographs. They're going to spread them all over school. Of course, this came out in year 2000. It's before cell phones and stuff. But yeah, this is horrible for Benny. No girl should have to put up with this. She, you think, well, why doesn't she go to the cops and all this stuff? Well, these are local dealers and gangbangers, if you want to call them that. And they're afraid. They're afraid to tell Mama what's going on. So Benny and Rain, who don't really get along. I mean, they're close, but there's some tension between the two sisters, which I thought was nicely done in the story. They take it upon themselves to get the money by pawning some of their jewelry and raise enough money to go meet the gang members in this like really scary location, some dark alley in a warehouse kind of thing. When they get there, the scuffle starts and Rain runs off and Benny ends up getting stabbed and killed. So this is horrible tragedy, and Rain really feels guilty about it because she ran off, and Mama's like, what, why didn't you come to me? And, and Mama's sick, all this terrible stuff. So Rain overhears, and this is, I think, right before this happens, Rain overhears that she isn't a real member of the family, a blood member of the family, I should say, but she is adopted. And, of course, this is very upsetting to Rain and very confusing. So after what happens to Benny, and the mother is just like, I can't lose one more child to these streets, she tells Rain the truth about her, that she was an illegitimate daughter of a rich white woman and a black man whom there was like this love affair in college, and they gave her up for adoption. So she contacts she's able to find the mother's able to find her Mama. We'll call Mama the adopted mother, and then her mother is able to find her mother, and they meet in a fancy restaurant to hash all this out. So her biological mother's named Megan Randolph, and her father is Larry Ward. We'll come around for Larry Ward later in the next book. Megan is part of the Hudson family, so we have Frances Hudson, the grandmother, and then we have Victoria Hudson, the sister of her mother. And there's all these other Hudsons. Megan, the mother, is kind of the Corinne character, although not quite as flighty and ridiculous as Corinne and some of the other characters who are mother characters are modeled after that Corinne character. But she is kind of like not that interested in Rain. She has a husband and her own 2 children. So she really doesn't want them to know about her past. And there is a sense of like shame based on Rain's race, which is gross. And she's kind of like, oh, well, why don't you just move in with my mother at this big estate, and I'll just tell her that you're one of my charity cases because I do all this charity stuff. And you can go to this nice school and have this nice life. And Rain's like, okay, but are you going to be like my mom now? Because no one can replace my mama kind of thing. So you can see where she's in an emotional turmoil. So her brother Roy does make a pass at her before she leaves, and she responds. I think of the two books, some of the sexual situations that Rain finds herself in both of these books, I find kind of implausible and a little strangely handled. Not that this isn't the case for a lot of V.C. Andrews books, I mean, starting right from the beginning, of course, but she seems very passive with some of these relationships. I don't really get the sense that she's really making a choice to get involved with some of these guys. It's just sort of allowing it to happen to her. Not to say that doesn't happen in real life, but I felt like that's the case with Roy. Like, he starts putting the moves on her one night, telling her, how, well, now that I know you're not my sister, this before she leaves, I have these feelings for you. And then you can kind of tell that she doesn't really reciprocate at all, but he starts reaching under her blouse, and then her body's like responding. But they don't go all the way, but it's still a little odd. Anyway, he goes off. Did I say Navy? I think it's the Army. And Rain goes off to live with Grandma Hudson. And at first, she's very standoffish. There's this, who is this girl living in my house? And the grandmother's very kind of, not quite like the evil grandmother that we've seen before, that archetype. But Victoria, her mother's sister, is this very uptight, kind of more of the evil character. She doesn't like Rain. She doesn't like Rain moving in on the grandmother. Maybe she's trying to get some money. They don't trust her. But Rain really gets along with the chauffeur. I forget his name. And she starts her new school. It's this very exclusive private girls' school where they have horseback riding, and it's really fancy. And, Rain's character really is kind of she's street smart. Like, she doesn't let people push her around except for these men. But she handles the mean girls and this kind of thing. She meets this young man who's from the other school, like the boys' school, Corbett? I'm going to say Corbett. He gets cast in the play with her, which is Our Town. So here Rain begins to discover she has talent. I think she was in a play in her other school too. I don't know, it's all a little bit of a blur, but this is where she finds her true gifts. So she is rehearsing the play. The director of the play is really impressed. She starts to gain popularity and respect in the school. And Corbett starts to put the moves on her by being like, oh, well, let's go to my, private, on my private estate, there's a house that, it's like my party house. And maybe you just like hang out with me there and we'll work on the play. Okay. So they go to, and he does put the moves on her. She kind of stops it before it goes too far. But then the night of the play comes, and in the whirlwind of all of that, she does go back with Corbett, and she loses her virginity to this guy who's really a jerk, and you can tell he's going to be a jerk. And all these situations, I think of the two books, she has like 3 sexual encounters, and none of them is she using birth control or anything. And I kept thinking, okay, the end of the book, she's going to be pregnant. Like, it's going to be a Dawn all over again. But so far, it hasn't happened. So far, she's lucked out. So I just have to say, for young girls reading this, it'd be like, maybe they do mention like condoms and this kind of thing, but they don't really use them. And then there's one gross scene where a guy pulls out, and I'm like, I didn't need to read that. Anyway, so Corbett, pops her cherry. What can I say? And then, of course, later at school, he's being a jerk with all his dudes, and she's like riding her horse in her equestrian lesson, and he's making fun of her. And then she realizes, okay, this guy's a jerk. But what kind of like about Rain, though, none of this devastates her. Like, she just kind of bounces back. She's not like crying in the woods and, wanting to kill herself. She's just like, okay. And, she makes some strides. Grandma Hudson is starting to get ill. The mother rarely shows up. When she brings the 2 teenage kids, they're kind of jerks to Rain, especially the girl. They're jealous of her because she's very, very attractive. And she's special. She's got a great personality. She's street smart. She can cook, and she's a hard worker. So she earns the respect of the grandmother. She decides to send Rain to England, to London, specifically to study at this exclusive theater school. She also discovers that her mama from back in DC has cancer and is dying. It's very sad. She and Roy rush to the hospital to be with Mama in her final moments. So the book ends kind of on a sad note. Roy is like, Rain, let's just run away together. We can get married. We're not really related. And Rain's like, no, I'm gonna do what Grandma Hudson had arranged for me and go to London and start a new life. I don't want to miss out on any opportunities, and maybe I'll be able to become an actress. So the next book is Lightning Strikes. There's a lot of creepy stuff happening in this photograph or drawing, illustration, whatever it is. This was an interesting book. This all takes place in London. So Rain is taken to her next destination to study theater. So she's going to London to stay at Eleanora Enfield's home. This is her great aunt and her husband, Richard Enfield. So her great uncle. So these are relatives, but they don't know that she is related. They think she's the grandmother's charity case, like an au pair, and she's going to be living at their estate in London and working in the house. But she doesn't realize that she's going to be really treated like a servant. And there's a really creepy character that I love. Instead of having the creepy housekeeper, we have a really creepy butler named Boggs. Now, he is a great character, and he made this book a lot of fun. He is just this nasty man, and he's got it out for Rain because she is an independent spirit. And there are other household staff. There's a driver, too. I forget his name. I always forget the chauffeurs. Mrs. Chester, who works in the kitchen mostly, and Mary Margaret, who's this younger but kind of simple-minded girl who's really shy and nervous and is always like messing up. So Boggs runs a tight ship, and Rain gets stuck living in this little room on another floor of the house with no hot water. They have to share a bathroom with the maids, and she's like, well, wait a second. I'm part of this family. Why am I being treated like a slave? So it gets into kind of the British, like, aristocratic class system compared to America, which is kind of interesting. She just hangs in there and deals with it, but she also goes to school. So she's working part-time at the house and then going to school. And she meets these two French girls. There's a theater school. They're really artsy. And then she meets a boy with a beautiful singing voice named Randall. And they start becoming friends and a little more than friends. And again, their relationship, it kind of progresses very quickly. And then she kind of blows him off a bit, and then she catches him in bed with one of the French girls near the end of the book. And it all blows up in their faces, but they kind of make peace at the end. But he keeps pushing her to find her real father, because her real father had moved to London years ago to study Shakespeare and to become a teacher, a professor. So she and Randall kind of stalk him. They find his name in the phone book and figure out it's him. And she discovers that he's married to a nice wife, a white woman with kids, 2 kids. So she's like, okay, again, she's caught between these worlds. This is my father, but this is not really my family. What do I do? She ends up connecting with him and telling him she wants to talk to him about Shakespeare because she's a student. She's studying Shakespeare, and she ends up having dinner at their house. And eventually they kind of figure out who she is, and she tells him. And I'm guessing that will figure in the next book. Then there's all this weird stuff going on with the Enfield family. There's this little cottage on the estate that some weird mystery starts to come out because Rain notices, and it rains a lot. Of course, it rains a lot in London. So there's this sort of sense of, it's very gothic and moody, but she sees this like light going on in the cottage at night. And one night she sneaks up and Boggs is standing out there, kind of standing guard. And when she opens the window, the drapes, she sees the old man, Richard, playing with the maid, the girl, Mary Margaret, and making her dress up like a little girl with like a lollipop and sit on his lap, which is, and he's calling her the name of the child that he and his wife lost, the girl, their baby. So this is twisted. So Richard is definitely taking advantage of Mary Margaret because she's really too simple-minded to consent to all this. And then she gets sick and leaves. Richard asks Rain to kind of show up one night at the little cabin, the little cottage, and put on these weird clothes and play the part too, under the pretext that he's helping her with her manners because she's not, refined enough for their taste. And she kind of figures out, okay, this guy is a total creep. And what happened to Mary Margaret? She's able to find Mary Margaret's home, and the girl's there with her mother, and it's this really kind of sad little row house, and with all this old furniture that was taken from the estate, like used furniture, and the girl confesses that she's pregnant. Of course, it's Richard's child. What's she going to do? And then in a really creepy scene, Boggs shows up, and it turns out she's Boggs' daughter. And he's not going to get the old man in trouble because he's going to pay them money because of what he did to pay for the child and basically to pay Boggs off, to pay off the whole family. And Boggs is like, what would you want me to do? He's got this like Cockney accent, and it's all written phonetically in this book. And there's this like shot of Boggs just kind of sitting there like all bent over and broken. So Rain is getting an education on adults and their problems and how messed up they are. So at the end of the story, she gets the sad news that Grandma Hudson has passed away. And wouldn't you know it, Rain is in her will. It all comes out. The Enfield family is incensed that this girl that was living with them is part of their family. The disgrace, the scandal. So they try to buy Rain off. It's like, look, we'll give you $1 million if you just get out of our hair, because the grandmother gave her not only, I think, half of the estate, or 51% of the business too. So she is the biggest shareholder in the whole thing, which is sending Victoria into a complete tizzy. And she returns to the States. She says goodbye to Randall. Oh, Roy shows up, I forgot, the brother. And again, a creepy sexual experience in her little maid's room, where the reason I say it kind of is a little disturbing is because she doesn't really seem that she completely consents to any of these things. Because she doesn't feel that way about her brother, really. She knows he's in love with her, but she's kind of like, I love you, but you're my brother. No, I'm not going to run off with you and marry you. But yeah, we can have sex. I don't know. It's a little strange. But so he's gone, but then she returns to the States for the funeral. They try to pay her off, buy her off. She has a meeting with her mother on the grounds, and she's like, no. And this is where her strength comes out and her street smarts, because now she's learned about people, and she knows what their motivations are, and that she's not going to be manipulated by them. So she's like, nope, I'm going to do what my grandmother would want me to do. She was not senile at the end. She knew what she wanted. She wanted me to have this. And so that's kind of the end of the first part, or the first two stories. So I'm not really sure what's going to happen, but I'm going to keep reading. I'm sure I got a couple things wrong. I forgot some names and a little bit, some events, but it happens. The next one is called Eye of the Storm. This is a nice, okay, this looks like whatever happened to Baby Jane going on here. I can't wait to dig into this. And then our last one, and this is one of my favorite covers of any V.C. Andrews, is called The End of the Rainbow. I just love the rainbow stripes. And we're not really sure how this ends, but I will keep reading. and report back. Oh, I also wanted to mention there is a movie. There's a movie called Rain based on this story that came out, I don't know, probably early 2000s or maybe 2010. I know it stars Faye Dunaway, and I've been dying to find a copy, and I can't find it anywhere to stream online. I found a DVD on Amazon that was really expensive, so I don't know. If anyone has any link or a place where I can find that, I would love to watch that and report back to you. So let me know in the comments below if you read the series or if you're interested in reading the series. I would love to hear your thoughts. So that's all I have for today. Thanks for stopping by my haunted library, and I'll see you soon. Bye.